I think both candidates can win the election. I think it's still pretty wide open. For Donald Trump, he's got to get away from the focus on himself and on personal attacks on his opponent and get back to the issues. As someone best able to manage the economy, he has a lead. As someone who can grapple with immigration, he has a lead, and so forth. So for him, he's got to break out from his instinctive approach of talking about himself or attacking his opponent and focusing more on the issues. For Kamala Harris, it's a combination of things. She's got the momentum at present, it seems, or at least it seems from the media. Of course, a lot of people have already voted in this election, something that people have missed. There's a much stronger postal vote process in place and many people have voted, but she needs to try to maintain the momentum. She needs to have a clear plan for the future, setting herself apart from Joe Biden. Well, I think it's how the public should deal with those groups, because the public understand that ultimately they're voting for a government, and protest groups tend to do better often when people have high expectation that one party or another is going to win. So people think, well, my vote's not really going to alter the outcome nationally, so I can afford to send a message on a particular issue. If you look at the United Kingdom, there were a number of pro-Palestinian independent candidates who were successful, and they won seats that would otherwise have been won by the Labor Party. Everything is political, and business leaders are operating in a political climate. There's no doubt about that. One thing they need to remember, though, is that X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, and lots of emails and a lot of noise often does not reflect the view of their customers, their shareholders, or the community more generally. And so business leaders need to keep a perspective on the static that goes on around some issues and focus primarily on their fundamental corporate purpose, and not be afraid to make the case for business, for the contribution it makes to the economy. There's been a tendency, I think, for often, it's PR advice and things to, oh, we're being attacked, shut it down, rather than sometimes stand your ground and make your case. The success of countries like Australia has been built upon a recognition of certain sorts of values: reward for effort, personal responsibility, mutual obligation, to use a John Howard phrase, freedom of speech and freedom generally, all of those things. And the case for those values is not often made these days, not by politicians, let alone others in the community. And I think that worries me more than anything else, because the most successful politicians and leaders are those that have a set of, they have something in their gut, a set of values and beliefs that guide them. And if a society doesn't have the anchor of those beliefs, it sort of darts here and darts here based on the latest noise, the latest trend, the latest issue. Well, in terms of people I've worked with, it's hard to go past John Howard. He had a number of attributes that I think very successful leaders display. The first is a consistency. If you were to walk down the street and talk to people and say, this has happened, how would John Howard react? Or what would John Howard's view be about this issue? They could, with a fair degree of confidence, answer that question. That consistency is very important. In an era, a time of complexity and change and all of those, and all of the other pressures we see, having consistency and foundational views and values is really important. And I think that ultimately was John Howard's strength. And it's why, ironically, although he lost his seat and lost an election, people look back on his time now and say he was a good Prime Minister. In fact, some people, some associated with this building, have said he was a great Prime Minister. And I think that sense of consistency, sense of belief was very important and was a testament to his success.